Why, hello there, very stained fingernails. Please excuse all the staining. I'm in the middle of growing it out. It's about halfway up my nail right now. Hopefully I'll grow that out soon. I did discover that I need to use 2 coats of my favorite base coat, which is Orly Bonder, and that's really helped my nails from staining. That's how I've been able to grow them out halfway so far. So today I'm going to be showing you how I get a really perfect manicure. And I post a lot of manicure photos on Instagram and on my nail blog, and the top question I get always is, how do you paint your nails so perfectly? And the reality of it is I don't paint them perfectly at the beginning, but I make them perfect in the end. That'll make more sense here in a minute, but for now, I'm just going over all of my nails with that Orly Bonder rubberized base coat. And I'm going to do 2 coats of this. Right now, I'm just showing you the first coat. I do it on both hands. So first my left hand and then my right hand. And then by the time that I finish my right hand, the left hand's dry enough that I can go straight back over to it and start the second coat of the base coat. And this base coat in particular, I really, really love, and I've been particularly in love with it since I've been doing 2 coats of it. I noticed that my polish stays on like you would not believe. I kind of have to use a lot of, not a lot of remover, but I do have to kind of scrub with my Zoya Remove Plus a little bit more than I had in the past. The color I'm using today is from Dior. This is 999 Rouge or Red Royalty. This is an older bottle. They've actually redone the formulation, and it's now supposed to mimic sort of like a gel manicure. I have yet to try those out. I have some on order from Sephora, so I'll let you guys know on my blog how I feel about those. But for now, I'm just using this older version. So that one was kind of out of focus, so I'm going to talk you through these next few. Basically, I wipe off the polish off both sides of the brush, and then I press the brush onto the nail until I can see the bristles fan out, and then I very slowly and gently paint my nail. I think the biggest tip that will help you the absolutely most is to slow down. I think people try to paint their nails too quickly, and that's why they're not getting the results that they desire. They're not allowing themselves to really let the brush do the work. Also, I always paint my nails with like a tabletop or a desktop in front of me, somewhere where I can put my hand down and the surface underneath isn't going to be moving. So if you're possibly painting your nails in bed and you've got your hand on your knee, it's not as stable as would be ideal. So if you can, get a book, put a book on your lap when you're in bed, and then paint your nails on top of that. So I'm being really super careful as I do this first coat. This is where I'm kind of laying the groundwork for this polish. You notice that on that last nail that I just did, there's a little bit of a little bobble or a little wavy line right at my cuticle. That's totally okay. We're going to fix it up later. The other thing about doing a perfect manicure is that if you have a good polish with a good brush, the Dior polishes have a particularly good brush. They're slightly similar to the OPI wide brush. However, these are just a little bit more thick. I've heard on the new polishes that the brush is slightly changed, but once again, I'll let you know on my blog how I feel about that. So even when you're using a smaller brush, you can do the same thing I'm doing here, where you let the bristles fan out and then let that very edge of the brush color along the line of your nail. I'm also leaving quite a bit of space. Well, I guess not a lot of space, but I'm staying away from my cuticle. The farther away from your skin that you can keep, for one thing, it's going to look a lot better. And then also it's going to be a lot easier to remove because you're not going to be trying to take that polish off your skin. So now I'm on to my right hand. I'm using my less dominant hand for painting. It is slightly more difficult, and I do kind of have to slow down quite a bit, really think about what I'm doing. See this corner right here I was having trouble with. I couldn't get it quite right. So I went ahead and moved on to the other corner using that edge of the brush to draw that line. And then I came back and it sort of started to clean up that edge. So when you're starting to get a spot where you just can't get in there quite right, move to a different spot and then come back. It'll be slightly easier to fill in that area. Painting my pointer finger, and then I'm going to show you painting my thumb. And The thumb on my right hand is always the hardest for me. I always have a lot of cleanup to do later, and I just can never get it quite right. I'm not entirely sure why this is the worst of all, but that's just in particularly the most difficult for me. It also tends to be one of my shorter nails, probably because I am right-handed and I use my right hand quite a bit. And so I always get a little bit of polish on my skin right at the edge of my fingertip. So now I'm coming back for my second coat. I did not wait any time in between. And I'm going straight in again. And you remember, this is that nail that had that weird shape at the bottom. It got slightly better with the second coat. Just putting some more on here. Now, if you have a really sheer polish that you're going to need like 3 or 4 coats on, make all of the coats really, really thin. And you also might try letting it dry in between. Oh, I'm getting a text message. Sorry about that. You might want to let it dry in between so that it's not going to be so squishy when you let it dry with the top coat. I've just noticed that that's something that makes it a little bit easier. So here I am doing the second coat on my right hand with my less dominant hand. That was that nail that had, or actually I think it was the nail next to it that had those issues in that corner. But as you do your second coat, you can kind of clean up some of the area right at your cuticle. Now these are looking pretty good. And some of you might be saying, I can't even get it that good on my first time around. Don't worry about that. We're going to do some cleanup. And so you can totally make it look as perfected as you want. So notice how this one looks a little bit better with that second coat. Now I'm going to do some cleanup, and I'm using straight acetone. When I remove my polish, I do not use straight acetone. I use Zoya Remove Plus. But when I'm cleaning up around my nails and around my cuticles, I always use acetone and like a brow brush. This is a brow brush from that's like a tongue twister, a brow brush from Sephora. You can see how easy that cleans that up. And I just use the very tip of the brush to brush away, for lack of a better term, brush away any of those little bumps and not smooth areas. Now most of my nails are actually pretty smooth right now. I don't have a whole lot of cleanup, but you can see on this nail in particular, watch how that little bump that I was talking about, how it was kind of bugging me. Watch how easy it is with when using small strokes with this brush with acetone on it, how easy it is to clean that up and really give it a nice curved edge. This is probably the most satisfying part about painting my nails, making sure I get that curved line at my cuticle just right. And it also gives me a chance to clean up any polish that may have just transferred or touched onto my skin. So I'm cleaning that up. Some people really like their polish right up against their cuticle. I really don't like that. I think if you are a really professional, maybe you could do that and have it look really nice. But I like to see just a tiny bit of nail right at the tip. And it's not just because I want to make sure that I get that curved line just right. It also helps for when I do the top coat, because it allows you to take that clear top coat all the way down to the cuticle, and it kind of seals in the polish. You'll see what I mean when I do the top coat. Now I'm cleaning up my other hand. My less dominant hand is using the brush. And I've got that little bristle on this brush that's like sticking out. Don't worry, I will totally pluck that off, and then I won't have any issues. So now I'm going to move on to my thumb. I'll be able to see how much I clean up on this one, because like I said before, this thumb is always the hardest for me to paint, and I'm not sure why. Like even I got that brush directly onto the top of the nail. It wasn't on there too long, so it didn't bother it, but I just really have problems with this one particular nail. So I'm going to clean up that bottom part, really give it a nice line, and clean up the skin and everything. And then I'm ready for a top coat. And my favorite top coat, I love and hate it, and I always come back to loving it, is Sèche Vite Dry Fast Top Coats. Believe me, if you've never used Sèche Vite before, please, please, please pick up a bottle. It will change your life. I used to hate to paint my nails. I never painted my nails. And then when I found Sèche Vite, my nail polish obsession began. Because it dries so quickly, and it dries to a glossy, shiny, mirror-like finish. And it does it so quickly. It dries so quickly. It makes it so your nails look perfect. I cannot tell you how much I love Sèche Vite. On the same hand, I kind of hate it because sometimes you can get some shrinkage where as it dries, it pulls the polish away from the tip of the nail. So you'll notice here, I paint the very tip of my nail. I've noticed that that's really helped because that takes the sèche-vite wrapping around the edge of my nail, and then it doesn't creep up so quite as much. If there's any shrinking at all, it doesn't shrink quite as much. And it's also just really good to make sure that your manicure stays nice, because the free edge of your nail is what's going to be exposed to, you know, when you're typing on your keyboard or things like that. Like, it's not so much the very top of your nail, like the flat part, it's the tip that's really getting a lot of the wear. So that's my left hand. I'm going to move on to my right hand. My less dominant hand is painting. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. And like I mentioned, I really do like having that little bit of nail in between the polish and the cuticle, because this allows me to bring the top coat down over that area and really seals in the color. I also really like to wear sèche-vite on my nails because it's a little bit of a thicker top coat, and I feel like it protects my nails and they don't break quite as often. So here's what both of the nails look like, and I'm going to bring in the polish bottle in a minute and be able to see what you usually see on my blog. But that's basically how I do my quote-unquote perfect manicure. I've done a video like this in the past with some other additional tips. Basically the same routine, but a lot of you had asked for a more recent updated video, so here you go. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.